welcome back to another episode of Hot Takes. I'm your moderator, Alex Rodriguez, and to my left and right is Mateo Avila and Tom Burton. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, surviving this week?
Surviving.
I mean, surviving and living because it's Super Bowl week, guys. We're getting excited for Sunday, and we'll give you guys your predictions, but we'll also talk about Isaiah Thomas. Is he in the MVP conversation? And Mateo has a juicy final hot take, and you'll get to hear that at the end. But we're going to begin with the Bears, who earlier today have expressed a real interest in backup QB Jimmy Garoppolo of the New England Patriots. This is from sources that there would have to be a trade, obviously, to get Jimmy Garoppolo. So the question for you guys, should the Bears trade for Jimmy, or should they just draft Deshaun Watson at 3?
All right, look, I mean, any option is good for the Bears. Like, I mean, they are so stuck at the quarterback situation. They've been stuck for a long time. Jay Cutler is not the man for the job, and everybody knows that. Everybody knows that a divorce is, upon us between him and the organization. And with Garoppolo, I mean, like, he's a pretty serviceable backup point guard. Obviously, he's stuck behind Tom Brady, but you got to give the guy a chance. I mean, Dak Prescott, he shined when given the chance, and the Bears have nothing to lose. So I would say do Garoppolo.
I take the opposite. I think if Deshaun Watson falls to us at 3, I mean, I know that's not guaranteed, but if he could fall to us at 3, we take him and hope for a Dak Prescott type miracle with him. I feel like take a rookie and see where that goes.
It wouldn't be a miracle if it was Deshaun Watson, because I mean, Dak was a 4th rounder, right? So you're not. So you would, as the Cowboys took a chance, you're hoping and you're betting on Deshaun Watson. So would you bet on a Deshaun Watson or a guy who, even though he's only played 3 or 4 games, could be a 2-time Super Bowl champion? Do you take a chance on that? Because either way, the Bulls are going to stink. So you have to take some sort of chance. So what chance do you really want to take? Losing picks or just sticking with what you got?
I feel like the Bears are so bad at this point, you want to hold on to those picks. So I'd say draft a rookie quarterback, take a chance on him, and save those picks for other positions that you need help at, because the fact of the matter is the Bears need help just about everywhere.
Like the postseason standouts are always they always seem to be too highly regarded going into the draft. Like, do you think that Deshaun Watson can honestly lead a franchise just because he had success in the postseason?
Yes.
Do you think that he is that player? Like, I mean, he wasn't even in the top 10 before he started having success as far as.
Okay, but the fact is he had the success, so why not take that chance? I feel like if you trade for Jimmy G and give up picks to the Patriots, you're taking a chance, a fighter's chance on Jimmy G. Because he played 5 games in his NFL career. They were a good 5 games, but he also was on a better team. So you got to take a chance on him, lose picks that you can use to better the rest of the team, and Jimmy G might not even be as good as we think he is. Look at Brock Osweiler. We thought he was going to be great, and he didn't pan out too well for the Texans this year.
Well, it's his first year as a starting quarterback for an entire season. I mean, you never know.
Well, that would be the same situation for Jimmy G.
But he's never. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Bears, like I said, there's not a lot to lose. So, you should give a guy who's at least has somewhat of an established resume in the NFL. He has six appearances this year and 2 starts for obviously the Brady suspension, and he completed 68.3% of his passes. It's not bad. I mean, the Bears they need to take a chance.
But he was also playing.
You don't have to give him picks though. You don't have to give New England picks. You can get rid of our farm system that probably isn't even that good.
I mean, but he's also playing on a team that's in the Super Bowl. So
is he why they made the Super Bowl?
He's definitely not the reason they made the Super Bowl, but he's on a Super Bowl team, so that automatically is a lot better than what he would be when he's here or in Chicago, where they're not nearly as good as the New England Patriots.
Well, his record is, I believe, 2-0 this season with New England because Brady had the suspension. So he played 2 out of those games, and Jacoby Brissett came in week 3, shut out the Texans at home, and then I think Jimmy G came back in that game. I believe so. If not, somebody fact check me. But just saying, there's so many better options, and I just think regardless of the fact, the Bulls are going to suck. Bulls are going to suck for probably a good couple more years. So might as well draft around a good QB or take a chance on somebody. You don't have to go all out. I mean, Jimmy G, if he fails, he fails. You don't give him a big contract. He just fails for you for 1 or 2 seasons. Good. Then you just restart and reload again. That's just, I guess, all you have to do at this point. Because the Bears, you have to focus on so many other things. I don't think there's a QB right now that's good enough. And I'm not saying Deshaun Watson won't be good enough, but I don't want to take that chance. So I'd rather have Jimmy G just prove himself for 1 or 2 more years or whatever we'll have him for, because regardless, their front office is awful. They can do whatever they want, but just focus on the defense.
So you're saying try to improve on other positions and sort of wait until a better quarterback option comes up?
Yeah, there's better options. You got Jonathan Allen out of Alabama coming out. He, for the first mock draft, he's picked to go to Chicago. And then you got, what's his name from Texas A&M is going to go 1, but what if he drops? The defensive end, Myles Garrett. He can come to Chicago. Jamal Adams from the safety from LSU. He can come to Chicago. I'll take any 3 of those guys in a heartbeat. I'd rather take a defensive guy than you take a QB like Deshaun. So,
I just feel like the Bears need help everywhere. So, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what they do. They're going to be pretty bad for a while. So,
and sorry about the noise. We're taking out our trash here. We gotta keep clean here at the Northern Television Center. But anyways, when we come back, we'll talk about Isaiah Thomas, the point guard of the Boston Celtics. Is he the MVP of this NBA season, or even considered one? We'll come back next on Hot Takes. And we are back for another session of Hot Takes. And we're going to go into the big MVP conversation. The NBA season's coming to the halfway point with the NBA All-Star Game coming up next week. And it's getting more and more candidates for MVP. Now the latest introduction to that is Isaiah Thomas, the point guard for the Boston Celtics, who has become a fourth-quarter monster. So, guys, should be in the MVP conversation?
absolutely not. I feel like this season, Russell Westbrook and James Harden are so far ahead in the MVP conversation that it's pointless to add anybody else. One of those two is going to come away with the MVP. When you have a guy averaging a triple-double, and Russell Westbrook, James Harden is third in the league in scoring, first in the league in assists. He's taken the Houston Rockets from a team that was 8th in the Western Conference last season to 3rd in the Western Conference this season. I understand Isaiah Thomas is having a great year, and any other season maybe he would be in the MVP conversation. This year, I just feel like Russell Westbrook and James Harden are so far ahead of everybody else that it doesn't even make sense to put him in the conversation.
I mean, like, I wouldn't say that, like, he's going to be the MVP, but, like, saying he could be in the conversation is a different, like, those are two different things. Like, you have to include the guy in the conversation. Like, it was originally just the Cleveland Cavs and the Toronto Raptors and then everybody else in the Eastern Conference. But Isaiah Thomas has kind of inserted Boston into that conversation.
Boston was there in the beginning of the season.
They weren't close to, like, Toronto and Cleveland, though. Like, now Boston's second ahead of Toronto.
I mean, DeMar DeRozan's been hurt. He missed a couple games. There's reasons the Raptors. I feel like the Raptors are still the second best team in the Eastern Conference, and Boston's just playing really well at the moment. But at the end of the day, you think that Boston has a chance against Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals?
I don't know
if they get there.
I don't know about Cleveland, but I'm taking them over Toronto in the playoffs. I think. I mean, Toronto
because of one guy, because of a 5'9" point guard that can put up some points, but is a liability on defense.
Nope, they have Al Horford. Yeah.
I mean, still, What good is Al Horford in a series against Cleveland?
I mean, I'm talking more like against Toronto. I mean, Cleveland's going to beat both of them.
Okay. But I feel like if you want to be put in the MVP conversation, you have to be. Okay, well, I can't say that because Russell Westbrook isn't competitive in the Western Conference. But I feel like Isaiah Thomas is what is the engine that gets Boston going. But at the end of the day, it would be basically him against Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan in a playoff series against Toronto. I don't feel like Al Horford is, and I feel like Al Horford would be useless in a series against Toronto too.
It's just like how valuable you are to your team. Like this is why people make the argument that LeBron is always the MVP every year, just because of what he brings and how valuable he is. And obviously Russell Westbrook and James Harden are very valuable to their teams in their own ways. But Isaiah Thomas is the exact same way. I mean, this team wouldn't even be close without what he's doing. I mean, 29, like just under 30 points a game, 6 assists. He shoots 92% from the free throw line. He shoots 47% for a guard. And that's, like, for a guard, that's really good. I mean, like, big men sometimes don't even shoot that. It's just, given what he brings to Celtics, and, like, you have to reward winning, you have to put him in the conversation. Is he going to win? No. It's going to be James Harden. But I think he needs to be at least talked about. He's earned it. He deserves it. And he should have been an all-star or a starter in the all-star game. Just FYI.
If you're talking about player efficiency, guys, I just looked it up. Isaiah Thomas is third in the NBA in player efficiency, meaning that if he's on the court, he's the guy that's scoring is the guy that's doing everything for Boston. So he's actually ahead of both James Harden. No, he's not ahead of Russell. Russell Westbrook is 1, Isaiah Thomas is 3, James Harden 6. And Nikolai Jokic for Denver's 10th. But beside that point, he's
balling over there.
I mean, maybe he's balling, but I'm just saying, he is the third highest player efficiency over James Harden, who's my MVP of the season. So if you
I also know that James Harden accounts for 54.6 of Houston's points, and I know Isaiah Thomas doesn't do that.
Isaiah's probably close though. I don't know what it is.
I know Westbrook also accounts for 52 of OKC's points. I don't know what Isaiah Thomas' number is, but I mean, he's having a good stretch. He's putting on a show in fourth quarters. He's playing really well. He's an all-star this season. I just don't think MVP conversation is worthy yet.
So in 2010, when our man Derrick Rose won MVP, and he averaged like 25 and 7, or maybe like 25 and 7, like, do you think that he was the standout MVP? Like, you don't think like LeBron or Durant was better than he was? But he still won MVP.
LeBron had a case that year, but the fact that the Bulls were 62-20, which is a far superior record than what Boston would have this season, definitely helped Derrick Rose win MVP.
But I mean, like, I would say Durant was probably the runner-up for MVP that year. I mean, with OKC, they had to have been.
Not LeBron?
I'm pretty sure LeBron was MVP.
I'm pretty sure
he was second that year. Because Derrick Rose basically sandwiched in between LeBron's 4 MVPs.
So I guess my question is, what does Isaiah Thomas not have over James Harden and Russell Westbrook that Derrick Rose had over like Durant and LeBron in 2010? I mean,
okay,
Isaiah Thomas'
I feel like
numbers are better.
Except 2, good knees now.
The difference between Derrick Rose was the Bulls were the best team in the league that year. Boston is not this season, and the reason that Russell Westbrook and James Harden are MVPs, even though they don't are in the MVP conversation this year, even though they don't have the best record which Golden State has, is because Westbrook is averaging a triple-double, which is something that we haven't seen in a very, very, very long time, since there was only 8 teams in the NBA when Oscar Robertson did it. And then James Harden is leading the league in assists while being 3rd in points, and is 2nd in triple-doubles this season, right? So the main reason those two are so far ahead is because they're triple-double machines. And Isaiah Thomas is a fourth-quarter machine who could put up a lot of points. And I feel like if maybe he was 4 or 5 inches taller, he could be a triple-double threat. But the fact of the matter is he's not. And so I feel like the MVP conversation this year is focused a lot on stats and triple-doubles. And that's something that Isaiah Thomas is not doing.
But how about the team that Isaiah Thomas has now compared to, let's say, that team that Rose had in 2010? I mean, like, the Bulls, like, everybody knew that they were going to be good in 2010. Like, they had a great roster. I mean, I wouldn't even be, like, if you told me right now that the Boston Celtics were, like, 3 games over 500, I wouldn't even be surprised. Like, the roster isn't that good. I mean, Isaiah Thomas just is a name.
I mean, okay, Jay Crowder is a poor man's Luol Deng from that season. They have a couple good shooters. The Bulls had, 1-2 good shooters that season with Keith Bogans and Kyle Korver.
Keith Bogans, Korver. C.J. Watson wasn't bad.
C.J. Watson was just a product of what Tom Thibodeau was preaching, though.
Rip Hamilton.
Rip Hamilton wasn't on that
Rip
roster.
Hamilton was like 35.
Rip Hamilton wasn't on that roster. Rip Hamilton came after that season. He was Keith Bogan's replacement. Shows how bad the shooting guard rotation was then. But Boston's not a bad team overall. Boston's a deep team. They're not the most talented team in the world, but you can interchange a lot of players on the bench, on the starters, and they'll be okay. What's his name? Something Jerebko. I can't recall his first.
Jonas
Jonas Jerebko and Kelly Olynyk are interchangeable. Avery Bradley and Marcus Smart are interchangeable. They have a lot of guys that aren't standout players, but are interchangeable guys. So there's no drop off when you take out the starters and bring in the bench. Aside from when Isaiah Thomas is no longer on the floor, but he's playing heavy minutes anyway.
I don't know, man. I feel like he's earned the right to be discussed.
I feel like
He's not going to be the MVP.
I would agree. In any other season, I feel like the way the MVP conversation is shaped this year around Russell Westbrook and James Harden being triple-double machines, and Russell Westbrook averaging a triple-double and leading the league in scoring, James Harden being third in scoring, leading the league in assists, and what he's done for Houston is extremely different from what Boston is doing. Boston went up, two spots?
Yeah.
3 spots? What were they, 4th, 5th last season?
They're, I believe, third. No, I believe third, right behind Toronto. They were third, so I think they're right there. So
okay, so they're right around the same spot they were last year. When you look at James Harden's team, they were 8th, and now they're 3rd
But like,
in the Western Conference.
So then, who are your MVP? So who do you think should be an MVP then? Who should be in that conversation?
This season, I feel like it's Westbrook and Harden and nobody else.
You're not even going to give credit to Kevin Durant nor...
Kevin, I feel like no one on Golden State is going to win MVP just because that team is stacked. And Stephen Curry won it 2 years in a row. They're not going to give it to another Warrior for 3 years. That's not going to happen. So there's no point in even talking about them. LeBron's always in the conversation, but LeBron's got, 4? Do you really want to give him another one? Probably not going to happen.
I mean, that's what they said about MJ and all the great players. You got to give them some... But the conversation of giving the award is two different subjects.
I understand that, but I'm just saying the way the conversation is shaped is going to be Westbrook and Harden, Westbrook and Harden, Westbrook and Harden. What's the point of even mentioning Isaiah Thomas? If he legitimately has no shot at even winning it, what's the point of even mentioning Isaiah Thomas' name in that conversation?
It's like Russell Westbrook and James Harden, like, if either one were to win MVP, which one of them will, they have different reasons for them being MVP. Like, we all know why Russell Westbrook, like, if he was MVP, we all know why, because he averaged triple-double, second person since Oscar Robertson.
Yep.
Right? And, like, I mean, him would be for the numbers, but in James Harden's case, it would be, like, what he brings to Houston for a roster that isn't that good. Like, the fact that they're, 36-16. I mean, you look at the names on that roster, I mean, that's not a 20-game over 500 team. Like,
Definitely not.
James Harden is igniting them, and like Isaiah Thomas is in a way like has the same argument for him being in the conversation. So like, I mean, nobody's gonna have a triple double. Like Isaiah Thomas and Harden aren't gonna have a triple double, but like they're in it for the same reasons.
I could look at it the same reasons last year when people said Kawhi Leonard should be in the conversation, but Kawhi Leonard was hardly ever mentioned, and the reason he was never mentioned is because Steph Curry was so far ahead of him that there was no point in even mentioning him. So I feel like that's the same situation this season. There's no point in naming Isaiah Thomas into the MVP conversation when it's just Westbrook and Harden are so far ahead of everybody else.
So what's your reasoning for James Harden being MVP? Why James Harden?
Why James? For the reason you just stated, there are 20 games over 500 with a roster that probably shouldn't be 20 games over 500. He counts for 54 points that they score a game. He's third in scoring, first in assists, and is taking the Houston Rockets, who probably had a better roster last season and finished 8th in the Western Conference, to 3rd in the Western Conference. And that's a huge jump. You're talking about 5 spots in the Western Conference, not the Eastern Conference, the much weaker Eastern Conference, the Western Conference. And the Eastern Conference, Isaiah Thomas went up a spot. He went up 1 spot, and you're not even even close. I mean, I'm not saying Houston has any chance of coming out the West, but I'd like to see James Harden play against Golden State and see what he could do and what he's doing with Houston and see maybe, can you steal a game or 2 from Golden State? When Boston, okay, you'll make LeBron's heart skip a beat one time. No big deal.
Golden State will take care of James Harden, but like it just seems like it's the same argument for Isaiah Thomas being the MVP with Boston and James Harden being the MVP with Houston. It's just kind of a weaker.
But it's not. That's
the same argument, but it's a little weaker argument.
It's not though, because James Harden is 3rd in scoring, and I understand Isaiah Thomas is 2nd, so he's right in front of him by a point or 2. But James Harden's also 1st in assists, and Isaiah Thomas isn't the best dime dropper in the NBA by far. And I understand he's a point guard, and that's what you need at the point guard spot. And you can score, and it's great, but I just don't feel like MVP conversation is necessary.
Well, Here's Isaiah's stats before we go. He's averaging 29.7 points per game, has under just 1 steal per game, 6 and almost 6.5 assists. So, and if we're being, politically correct, he should be the starter in the All-Star game. But that's for a discussion for another day. So when we do come back, we'll talk about our good old Bulls. Yeah, man. Do we even really want to talk? I guess we got to talk about them Bulls. Man, they're a mess. And we'll be right back with Hot Takes. We are back. Hot Take continues here at Northern Illinois. And our next topic of the night, them Chicago Bulls. They've been winning, though. They have last couple games. They've won 2 in a row. So, are they back on track, guys? Is this the moment where they're going to get that 7th or 8th spot in the East?
I think they're slightly back on track. I don't want to say fully back on track, but I think they're slightly back on track. They look much like the team that we had the first 3 games of the season when they played a lot better and then dramatically fell off after all that turmoil last week in the locker room. They came out this past week with a 123-point output against Philadelphia, a 126-point output last night against Oklahoma City Thunder. And I liked what I saw. They were a lot more team-oriented. The ball moved well. It wasn't sticking in Jimmy and Dwayne Wade's hands, although Jimmy and Dwayne Wade both played very well last night. I liked what I saw. They looked like a team. They looked like guys that just played for each other. So I think, they're back on track and maybe finally tuning Hoiberg in a little bit.
I mean, it's somewhat satisfying the last couple wins. I mean, they beat an Oklahoma City Thunder team who are better than we are, and then they beat Philadelphia, who had the best record in January, right? Or
yes, they did have the best record in January.
They were playing well. I mean, they were still the Philadelphia 76ers, but they were playing well. It just looks better. I mean, this road trip is kind of gut check time for this team. I mean, they play Houston tomorrow. They play Boogie Cousins in Sacramento, Golden State, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. I mean, Toronto and Boston back at home after the road trip. I mean, this team could honestly slide into 5th or 6th, or they can slide out of the playoffs for a few games. I mean, this road trip before the All-Star break might kind of dictate how they do, but as of recently, it's been good.
With that being said, I think this is the perfect time to get back on track if you're going to, because if I remember correctly, I heard somewhere, I don't remember where, but I heard that the Bulls have had the second easiest schedule up until this point, meaning we should be a lot better than we have record-wise, and clearly the Bulls have been losing to teams they shouldn't be losing to. So I think right now, they need to open their eyes, wake up, be a team, because like you just said, we have Houston, Golden State. We never played well in Sacramento. 2 of the better Eastern Conference teams after the road trip. It's go time now. Now you're playing playoff teams, and if you want to make the playoffs, you got to beat those playoff teams.
And outside of those good teams that I said, we also play, like you said, Sacramento, Phoenix twice in the next few weeks, Minnesota, and you never know with this team. It's they could come out and get pounded by Golden State like they're expected to, or they can come out and get pounded by the Minnesota Timberwolves. You just don't know. You don't know what they're going to do, and that's kind of when the turmoil starts, when they lose games they're supposed to win, and it's just not. I don't know. I'm not sold yet, but we'll see. And
to give you your perspective on this upcoming schedule, it's our West Coast trip at Houston, at Sacramento, and then the Warriors game at Golden State is on ESPN along with their next game at Phoenix. And then there's another two national games, TNT against Boston at home, and then we're going to Cleveland, going back to the land for ABC on February 25th. So, for the Bulls' sake, let's not get embarrassed on national TV 4 times, because that's the worst thing you can do as a franchise, just to keep bringing all the woes on national TV.
The funny part is, if you want to bet on the Bulls, bet on them beating teams they shouldn't beat, and never bet that they're going to beat a team that they should, because we beat Cleveland twice this year. We'll beat I'm not saying we're going to beat the Warriors in Golden State, but we can beat the Warriors because the Bulls make it happen. But then we go and lose a 21-point lead to Minnesota. I wouldn't be surprised if we lost both those games to the Phoenix Suns.
Oh my God.
The Bulls are just, I don't know, there's something else.
Devin Booker going off for 35. Can you bet on that, both games?
I don't know. There's a little history between Jimmy Butler and Devin Booker. If I remember last season, Devin Booker did a little talking, and Jimmy Jimmy shut that down on the defensive side of the ball. So I don't know if Jimmy's guarding Devin Booker. I won't expect Devin Booker to go off, but I can definitely see Eric Bledsoe going off because he always seems to kill Bulls.
Yeah. Okay, Eric Bledsoe. I mean, you're right about that, but
he's a Bulls killer. Bledsoe.
Yeah, and you know what? How mediocre. So like 25-25. That's just pitiful. Second easiest schedule in the NBA. And Mateo, you have some for a hot take. You have some juicy words to give the Bulls front office.
I do. GarPax, you guys need to go. So if you guys hadn't heard last night or early afternoon yesterday, Bulls players reportedly suspected the Bulls front office of Gar Forman and John Paxson of spying in the locker room using assistant coach Randy Brown as their spy. And what was basically being said was Jimmy Butler would tell guys in the locker room, don't say anything in front of Randy Brown. He's going to go report it to Paxson and Foreman. And essentially what the beef here is in terms of when players walk. When the contract negotiations come up, they basically threaten that player by saying, if you don't accept our extension, we're gonna start somebody else. So the example they used was when Jimmy Butler took that chance on himself a couple years ago, which panned out for him, and he got a nice max contract. Before that, they said, if you don't take our extension, we're gonna start Tony Snell, we're gonna sit you, so your production drops and you don't get a max contract anywhere else. But at the time, Tom Thibodeau was our head coach. He wasn't having it. Obviously, Jimmy Butler's way, way, way superior to Tony Snell, so he wasn't having it. Thus, Jimmy got his money because he was getting the playing time he deserved. But supposedly, it had been done to Luol Deng, it had been done to Joakim Noah, it had been done to Derrick Rose, and then lastly, finishing with Jimmy Butler. And now we all know Tom Thibodeau has been let go. Fred Hoiberg was the only candidate for our job after that because he's basically a sock puppy of what Gar and Pax like to do. So my advice to Gar and Pax is quit. Because Reinsdorf obviously isn't going to pay attention and fire you, but you're no longer wanted in Chicago. You haven't been wanted in Chicago for years. We hate you. You're taking our beloved Bulls and destroying them. So, and the things you say make no sense. You let go of Derrick Rose. You let go of Joakim Noah. You let go of Paul Gasol to get younger and more athletic, and proceed to sign a 36-year-old Dwayne Wade, a 31-year-old Rajon Rondo coming off of knee injuries. What was the point of letting Derrick Rose go? That's a topic for another day. For trading Derrick Rose to the Knicks and getting a 28-year-old Robin Lopez, who definitely isn't athletic. And now we're hearing rumors about signing a Chris Bosh, who has blood clots and hasn't been able to play for 2 years. It makes no sense. You make no sense. You're taking the Bulls and destroying them. This is a team that has won 6 championships, doesn't deserve to be as bad as they have been the last couple of years. You guys need to go. Hashtag fire GarPax.
And that starts here. We started that hashtag. We're copywriting this. All right. So, or Mateo can copyright it. I don't know. The little like A thing. I don't know. Copyright that hashtag.
I'll copyright it. I'll see what I have to do to do that.
But yeah, that's a little bluntly message to that front office. So let's see if they take your advice and pack their bags. Bulls fans would sure enjoy that as well. And for our last, and when we come back, we'll give our Super Bowl 51 predictions. Who's going to win between the New England Patriots and the Atlanta Falcons when we come back on Hot Take. All right, and we are back as Mateo was dancing. I saw that.
I was dancing.
That's a groove. That's a good beat. Doing the robot. All right, so for our last topic, of course, it's Super Bowl 51 week. So, guys, who do you got? Atlanta or New England? Who wants to start it off?
I mean, as much as I want Atlanta, it's just not going to happen. I mean, I'm not going to bet against Tom Brady, especially how he probably wants revenge against our man Roger Goodell.
I don't know if he's your man, but I don't know about my man.
Our man, but given our final take last week, but you can't bet against Tom Brady, I don't think, and New England's just too good. I want Atlanta, but no.
It's hard to bet against the Patriots, but I'm gonna do it. I got the Falcons. I hope the Falcons win. I think it's gonna be a high-scoring game. I'm taking the Falcons 42-35.
Ooh.
42 points in the Super Bowl.
That's
I think
high.
so. Yeah, their offense is amazing. I know the Patriots defense is something, but I think Matt Ryan will find a way to break it.
I'll take New England 26-17.
Oh, wow. You think that New England defense is going to stop Matt Ryan that hard?
Yep.
17 points only? Well,
See.
all right. Well, there you have it. Here's our Super Bowl predictions. I already made mine if you want to catch it. Listen to the podcast from Tuesday when me and Scott talked about prop bets. You know, just got to sponsor and promote all of our things here at Top Shelf. And catch our show. We're going to have our first show next week. It's going to be great. It's going to be Wednesday. I'm excited. Are you guys excited?
Very excited.
It's gonna be lit, as we say in college. So, from all of us here, thank you for joining us on Hot Shelf, Hot Takes, whatever you want to call. And if you have a hot take you want us to talk about, comment below and follow us on our Twitter, Facebook, and soon to be Instagram and maybe Snapchat. I don't know. I want to make it. Hopefully, I don't know how to do Snapchat really, so I'll try my best. And this has been Hot Shelf here at Northern Television Center. See you soon.